welcome back to Irene the Educator. Did you know that San Francisco and New York have declared health emergencies over monkeypox outbreak? So let's talk about it after this disclaimer. Now, this is not to cause panic or anything like that, but to bring awareness of the seriousness of this disease. 11 Live News Atlanta stated although 96% of reported monkeypox cases are among men who have relations with men, one Atlanta woman known to have monkeypox reports she contracted the disease from her relations with an infected male. Let's take a look at the explanations and cases shared to bring awareness. These are experiences from individuals, precaution, and recommendation from medical persons. First, this gentleman shares his story.
The fever didn't go away. I was taking ibuprofens, paracetamols, antihistamines, every single medication I could find, and nothing helped. At this point, I started to call 111 to get help from emergency services. And every single time when I called them, I was told that this is not an emergency.
The first few days, the first week since I realized I had it, it was mostly flu-like symptoms. So I had, intense fever, full body chills, sweating through my sheets at night, sore throat, cough. Those lasted about 5 to 7 days, and as those let up, more and more lesions were appearing across my body.
I remember clearly that I cried on the phone saying that I think I'm gonna die because I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't even swallow my own spit. I am just very tired, just lying down, and nothing is happening.
With more than 70% of cases reported from the European region and 25% from the region of the Americas.
We know that from the countries that are reporting cases at the moment, roughly half of them have already secured access to this vaccine.
The global monkeypox outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern.
I do think, unfortunately, there is real potential for stigma. There were quite a few, internet trolls saying really cruel, unkind things to me. And, I'm afraid that reflects in the real world too, right? Like if people who perhaps are homophobic or have prejudice or whatever see this, that could be used against the queer community.
It will be a struggle to contain the spread quickly. I think it will take many, many months for us to be able to get this outbreak under control. I do wish that the WHO and others in the international community had been more forceful sooner in raising the alarm, but it is better late than never.
We're not without tools or a strategy, but it is just going to require more effort around the world to move quickly when these new outbreaks emerge.
And when Wesley Wallace says he's been dealing with monkeypox for 3 weeks now, and it's not over yet. We want to warn you, this illness is graphic in nature. We do not want to hide the severity of some of its symptoms, but you should know some of these images are hard to watch.
Wesley Wallace says just being awake,
it hurts to exist,
is excruciating.
As you can see, from the time it started, it's just progressed and gotten worse and worse.
It's right there on his face. What he first thought was just a pimple.
I was like, oh God, please not me, please not me.
Soon turned out to be monkeypox. 8 different lesions on his chin, even one inside his mouth.
Every sip, every bite, it's just like, oh, I can't, it hurts.
And it's spreading.
Now random little lesions are starting to appear on my body. So you can put one on my hand, there's one here, like there on my wrist.
Wallace thinks he caught the virus at a bar July 4th weekend.
I'm going to say I probably was kissing somebody that had it and didn't know it, just based on where my initial lesions pop up.
But says access to the vaccine.
There's a huge high-risk population that is just hungry for the vaccine and they don't have access to it.
Has been so scarce, his friends are leaving the state to get it.
I have friends that are actually buying airline tickets, flying to other cities just to go get the vaccine and then come home.
He says along with the pain and the symptoms can come isolation.
You look at it and it's such an ugly virus. You know, you look at it, you just recoil and you're like, oh, I don't want to be anywhere near that. I knew the stigma that might come with it, but I also know that lots of people are facing that stigma.
He has support, but wants others to know they're not alone.
Just let them know that they're not some kind of pariah, that they're not dirty. And that it's going to be okay. It's not lethal. It's just very temporary. It's scary for the moment.
Wallace thinks he's got another week or so before he's finally safe to be around people again, making his total time in quarantine about a month. If you would like more information on monkeypox and the efforts happening in our community, visit our website, khu.com/monkeypox. Guys, back to you.
A long journey in his recovery. Thank you, Janelle. Now, to clear up fact from fiction about the monkeypox virus, simply text the word POX to 713-526-1111 for links to the online video.
The next video shows what people can do to advocate for themselves.
I think, Reggie, when Will was getting diagnosed, it was in the earlier days, and now we have commercial labs that can do it, reducing the barriers for clinicians to send the testing. Also, people don't know about it, frankly, still in the community, providers, that is. And that's why I'm worried about, not stopping the chain of transmission, because people want to not transmit it, but if they don't know they have it, either because clinicians are not recognizing it, or there's so many barriers to sending a test and people don't know what test to send, then you can't separate people who have it from people who don't have it, and therefore transmission happens. We've seen this story before with COVID in the early days when diagnostic tests were just sparingly used, and therefore there was a lot of transmission in the community.
I want to ask you another thing about Will's case. As we mentioned, his are limited to his groin area. Why is that in his case, but we are seeing other people who are having these monkeypox spread all over their bodies?
It depends on when you find it. So some people may not know they have it. It's in this particular outbreak, it starts off primarily in the groin area. It's mainly from skin-to-skin contact. As Will said, usually during intimate exposures. But if, say it's on the butt, you don't notice it. But I think people do notice when it moves. So it's the movement that distinguishes monkeypox from other infections. It could be like a staph infection or herpes or something else. But the movement to the arms, the face, the mouth is really what sets it apart, the palms and the soles. And that's when a lot of people might notice it, even if they missed it the first time.
Will, what question do you have for the doctor this morning?
Yeah, so I've got a few questions. Like I said, I've been doing my research, I've been diving in, which is part of the reason I knew I didn't have the correct test, but I found a lot of gray areas, especially with the CDC and the Department of Health messaging. First off, if I have it, does that mean I have immunity, or do I still need to go get a vaccine?
That's a great question. We think that people who get disease like you did, or infection leading to disease, have good immunity and would be protected. We don't know for how long. But we think, given the experience from smallpox, that you'd be having at least a few years protection. We'll probably get more and more information as time goes on, but that's kind of what the thinking is right now.
Do you think that he should still get a vaccine now, even while he has a current outbreak of monkeypox on his body?
Well, the vaccine in monkeypox is very different from the way we think about, say, vaccines and COVID. So in COVID, if you have COVID, the vaccine doesn't really make any difference whatsoever because it helps for the future. The incubation period or monkeypox moves so slowly that if you get the vaccine in monkeypox, it actually can help you with the disease you have right now, but you have to get in the right amount of window period. So within the first 4 days after exposure, it can help you not even get disease. Within the first 1 to 2 weeks after exposure, it can help alleviate or lessen the symptoms that you already have. So that's the secret about the vaccine in monkeypox that's different from COVID.
So someone in Will's case, within that kind of 4 days of suspecting that he had monkeypox, it could help. But what are you supposed to do? Because I don't think we would probably want someone standing in line in the public next to other people waiting for a vaccine.
Well, I think the biggest advocates would be somebody from a sexually SCI clinic. For example, in San Francisco, I know San Francisco ecosystem better would be, City Clinic or Magnet or Strut, because they would advocate for you and say, hey, with your situation, let's get you in ASAP, don't line up, I'll make an appointment and you come in and you'll get it because you fit into criterion for getting the vaccine. The other aspect is, of course, they could help advise you about other kinds of therapies as well. If it's really, really serious, you may need to come into the hospital and get other medicines.
Will, what other question do you have for Doctor?
Well, kind of piggybacking on that, speaking of other treatments and other medicines, I know TPOXX, which is kind of like the name that people are giving to the treatment, is being very scarcely prescribed or not being prescribed at all. My case, like I said, is very minor. I haven't had nearly as many issues as some of the anecdotes that I've read and seen videos about online, but how would you, it was never offered to me, and I know a lot of my friends who possibly have it as well has not been offered to them. How would you suggest someone advocating for themselves or getting someone to advocate for them to get this treatment?
So, yeah, that's a great question. So there's a treatment called tecovirimat or TPOXX. It's a pill form or an IV form. The problem with TPOXX is that it's not FDA approved, so it's not easy to get at any drugstore. No one can easily prescribe it. So it has to go through ethics board and informed consent. And what it means is that even though the CDC is distributing it, not every hospital has gone through the process of, the bells and whistles to get the drug into the hospital. But in many major cities, there are hospitals. So the way I think, coming back to Will's question, you can advocate for yourself is if you have serious disease, that is disease that's confluent or big in the rectal area, in the mouth, near the eyes, because it may affect vision, or extensive, or if you're a bad host, like you're immune compromised, pregnant, or a child under 8, those would be the highest priority for treatment because it can get worse. So advocate for just asking to see which hospital in the area might have it, and then maybe they may take a transfer, may allow you to go there and have access to treatment. I know that CDC and the Departments of Public Health are trying to have more places have access to this medicine, but remember, this is still an investigational drug, which means there isn't great human data and no randomized controlled trial. But in case reports and in animal models, it seems to work well, and it was already FDA approved for smallpox, but not for monkeypox.
And before we go, I just want to make it clear that, you're seeing Will, and he looks great, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that he feels great. He's had chills, he's had a low fever sometimes, and as he said, his monkeypox are painful. But in addition to that, he is now in isolation, essentially in the room that you see, and will be there until these monkeypox leave his body. So this has been a tough experience, Will.
Yeah, and one more question just to follow up with that, because I know there's a giant gray area. It says 2 to 4 weeks, right, about when your lesions would heal and then possibly fall off. Are you considered good to go after that? after they've fallen off? I know some videos I've seen and anecdotes say that you're not supposed to possibly have sexual intercourse for like 3 months afterwards. Is that true? I haven't really found anything to back that up.
I think the thinking is you're really transmittable or have infection that you can spread from only when you have symptoms. So not before and not after. So when the lesions drop off, I think you're good to go. As increasingly as people get vaccines and they have access to vaccines, and again, that gives you another layer of security that the person you're going to be with wouldn't get infected.
Gotcha.
Dr. Peter Chun-Hong, Will Hutchinson, it's been a pleasure to talk to both of you. Thanks for being so informative and open and honest about monkeypox. We really appreciate it.